What's up, everybody? Treadmill Talk. Third week, happy Easter to everyone who celebrates. If you don't know, this is Treadmill Talk, so just hop on the treadmill every Sunday around this time. About 30, 40 minutes. I have it set for 45 today. Just a way of hopping on the treadmill, working out, and talking football. So if you got any questions, drop them in the chat there. Preferably on YouTube. I think I see them. We're having issues with the Twitter comments showing up, but do our best to answer comments. If you got trade questions or questions about players, let me know. Week one, we talked free agency. Last week, we talked draft. So let's just talk football and how are we feeling, getting ready for the season. Got the draft coming up. Let's talk about the big news today. Obviously, Rashee Rice is the big news of the day. Listen, we just don't know right now. For those of you who don't know, there was a car accident last night. A car registered or leased to Rashee Rice was involved. The police were looking to talk to him, hadn't been able to find him yet or question him. There was some reports that he was possibly the driver of one of the cars. I'm not going to speculate on it. I don't know. We don't have enough information. I think that's the biggest thing for me right now is let's just wait until we get all the information. Was he involved? Was there alcohol involved? It seemed like there was two cars that were street racing. Caused a 6-car pileup, one person in the hospital. Doesn't sound like anybody died, but again, we don't know. We don't have all the information. We don't even know if Rashee Rice was there. So I'm going to wait before I make any judgment on him or his fantasy value or any of that stuff. Like, let's just slow our rolls a little bit and wait to see what happens. So I think it doesn't change much. I think the Chiefs were going to draft a wide receiver anyway. In the end of the first round, you're looking at someone. I've always had them as a Ladd McConkey spot. Seemed like a good fit for them. One of those kind of underneath route runners. Rashee Rice, Marquise Brown got to be outside receiver, so I think that was a good fit for them. Don't think this changes. Now, worst case scenario, if they do cut Rice, then they're definitely going to take a receiver, but I think they were going to take a receiver anyway. So I'm going to wait and see on Rashee Rice. Like, let's get all the information before we go speculating too much on that. So draft is about a month away, a little under. I think it's like 28 days or something along those lines. I'm excited for it. It's going to be in Detroit this year. Could see a lot. We've seen a lot of talk about the top of the draft. I think it's a given. Caleb Williams goes 101 to the Bears. That seems to be the given take right now. It seems like they've already given him access to the building, and we've seen reports of that. So it gets real interesting at 2. You have the Washington Commanders. I think they would have loved to trade up for Caleb Williams. I just don't think it's there. Like, I don't think they want to offer the price that the Bears want to take. I also don't think Ryan Poles has the job security to not take Caleb Williams. So even if the Commanders were offering 2, a first next year, a first the year after, and a second or some along those lines, or a third next year, or a third this year, or a second this year, I'm not sure Ryan Poles can not take Caleb Williams. I don't think he has a job security to go with a Jaden Daniels, Drake May, J.D. McCarthy at 2. I think he had to take Caleb Williams. It's the only way to really save his job and hope that Caleb Williams is good. I think if Caleb Williams is just okay, he can blame Matt Eberflus, get another year out of it, get more picks next year. So I think that's the only way to save his job. So 2 is really the interesting one with the Commanders. I think they, like I said, wanted Caleb Williams. He's from the DMV, so Delaware, Maryland, Virginia area. Grew up, played high school ball there. Seems to be a local kid. Doesn't look like they're going to get him. So Commanders, I think, are going to take Jaden Daniels. Listen, it's Jaden Daniels, Drake May, or J.D. McCarthy is kind of the question there. So I think it's Jaden Daniels then. 3 is Patriots. Do the Patriots take a QB? Do they trade back? The Vikings trade up. Cardinals at 4. So let me interested. I'm excited for the draft. I'm excited for the later half of the first round and day 2, rounds 2 and 3. That's why I've seen a lot more fantasy pieces go. I asked this question on Twitter. Where's the biggest gap? Is it between wide receiver-wise, Marvin Harrison to Neighbors to Odunze to Brian Thomas, or Brian Thomas to wide receiver 5. Everybody says between Odunze and Brian Thomas seem to be the general consensus. And I agree. I think after Odunze, you have Brian Thomas, Keon Coleman, Ladd McConkey, Xavier Worthy. All these guys can mix there. A lot of them are going to go in day 2, so it's going to be interesting to see how it happens. So if you guys got questions about prospects or trade questions or any kind of football questions, drop them in the chat. Treadmill Talks. I got 40 minutes left to start on the treadmill. Listen, it's nothing fancy, just me walking on treadmill talking football with you guys. So love to interact with you guys. Drop your questions on there. Talk football. So Dynasty season, obviously, for us Dynasty players, there's never really an off-season this season where we're making trades, acquiring picks, trading picks, getting players. I'd say there's a couple players I'm really interested in. Gus Edwards is the one that I'm super interested in right now. Signed with the Chargers. Odds there's some familiarity with Harbaugh, so he played for John. Now he's going to play for Jim in LA. Chargers want to run the ball. We know that's what Harbaugh wants to do. We expect the Chargers to draft a running back early, I think in the second round. Chargers could wait to the third round. I think Blake Corum obviously is the fit that I think most people have there. Jim Harbaugh coaching Corum at Michigan makes sense. But Gus Edwards is a big guy. He had almost 200 carries last year, 13 touchdowns. Now, a lot of them came in the goal line work, but I don't see that changing. I think he's still going to be a sneaky value there. So I like Gus Edwards as someone who can definitely jump in, score some fantasy points. Best ball, I'm picking him up if you play best ball. But in Dynasty, I'm worthy to take a third-round pick on Gus Edwards. Trade that away, get someone who I think can have some upside this year. And let's face it, rookie running backs generally don't do great, especially ones you're talking to their second, third-round picks. It's not like he's, as much as I love Blake Corum as a Michigan fan and as a prospect evaluator, I like him a lot, but do I expect him to come in and be Breece Hall? No. I expect him to come in and be a good running back, not a spectacular running back his first season. So I think that's where I had some value this year, especially if I'm contending he's the guy I'm going after. Let's talk about the Bills. I'm a Bills fan. I've been kind of down on this Curtis Samuel signing. I don't love it. I don't think it's a good fit for the Bills. I think they needed a big flanker wide receiver, someone who can be tethered to the line on the outside, allow Stephon Diggs to move around, Shakir in the slot, Kincaid to maybe come out or Knox to come out offline. I'm really hoping the Bills draft a big wide receiver. I'd love to see him get Keenan Coleman or Adonai Mitchell or Ryan Thomas. We'll see what happens in the draft. So that's where I'm at with Dynasty. I've been trying to make moves right now. It's really hard to make moves for me right now in Dynasty, partially because I value second-round picks right now. Not so much the third-rounder, because I think unless you're in like a 10 team, maybe the early third round, I think there's value. But also I've constructed my teams where I don't have a lot of what I consider expendable pieces. So am I willing to trade a guy off my bench that for a second-round pick when I like the opportunity for both those players without knowing who they are? So I'm kind of in the holding pattern right now, waiting to see where players land because opportunity matters. I want to know where they're going to be, what the fit is. Maybe after we get the draft, if I got a day or two or a week between the NFL draft and my rookie draft, I might start shifting some things around. A lot's going to change, right? We see that happen all the time. Opportunity, pathways to opportunity change for players with the draft. So we're there. So thanks for tuning in, Treadmill Talks on this Easter Sunday. Hit a like and subscribe. Drop me a follow on Twitter, the T-Unit13. Like and subscribe to Dynasty Pros YouTube page. We're doing these every Sunday. This is the third one. Again, another fantasy is me on the treadmill, walking, talking football with you guys. So if you got questions, drop it on there on YouTube. Love to answer your questions and talk football. If you guys got trades or any football-related question, love to answer them for you guys. So I'm excited for this year. We've got international games this year, which I think is even more exciting. We got one in Brazil with it's the Eagles. I forget who they're playing, but that should be fun. Another Germany game. 3 in London. So I'm excited for that. And with that, we've talked about this international and the growth of the NFL, the International Pathway Program. So the IPP, where they bring players in from other countries, give them an opportunity to kind of work out, showcase their skills. We saw the Chiefs sign Welsh rugby player, Louis Rees-Zammit. He's like a 24-year-old rugby player. I've been kind of touting for him a while. Super fast guy, hit 24 miles an hour in a rugby game. Just faster than DK Metcalf when he hit that 22, chasing that guy down on the interception. He's raw, right? He's never really played American football. Just started learning. But what I saw in the highlights and the game film from his rugby games is obviously great speed. He's super fast. We know that. Young, 24, doesn't have a lot of wear and tear in his body. Obviously has some for rugby, but not NFL wear and tear. But what I saw most was I liked is the vision. So in rugby, he's got to catch the ball, zig and zag. They do this thing where they punt the ball forward. And he would punt it forward and catch it himself. And you're talking about a rugby ball similar shape to American football, a little wider and thicker or whatever. Bounces were, but he's able to have the mind, see you guys come and kick it, but also has the speed and then get there before the guy. So can weave through guys to get to the ball. So he goes to the Chiefs. He signed a 3-year deal. Chiefs media has been, pushed him everywhere, which I think is awesome. I'm excited to see what he does in the NFL. I think he makes the team. I think they have a package of plays for him. I could see a lot of those Jerick McKinnon kind of screens, jet sweeps kind of plays that the Chiefs have done in the past couple of years. I can see them using Reese Emmett on those, allow him to use his speed. I think what they did with Tyreek Hill a couple years ago, they would run those jet sweeps where he come in motion, pitch him the ball. He's already up to speed and he can take off. Now you got a guy that's a little bit faster doing those things, but can see the contact and can absorb a little more contact. He's used to getting hit, especially around the hip area. So guys trying to tackle him, he can bounce off those. Obviously, going to be a little more heavier with pads on, but I think that vision, everything's going to be really good. So I'm excited for that. So he signed with the Chiefs from the International Pathway Program. And with the new kickoff rules, I think he's going to be a kickoff returner. If he can learn to field the ball, which I think he can do, especially on the bounce, I think it's going to be really interesting to see him with this new kickoff rule where they're lined up pretty close and they can't move till he gets the ball. He's be able to see the blocking. And I think it was Acho talked about this, that on previous kickoffers there was levels. So the faster guy would get down to contact first. He had to get through multiple levels of players. Now with this new kickoff, you don't have the levels. Everybody's kind of right there. So once you get past that first level of guys, not a whole lot stopping you. So you just need one hole, one crease, and those kickoff returns will be gone. So Luis Reese-Emmett on the Chiefs could be interesting if he starts returning kicks. I think any team that has a good kick return, and you get yards for that, or if your defense gets out, then it's going to play a lot into scoring for fantasy this year. So interesting. Another IPP, International Pathway Program player, was signed. Kicker, I forget who he signed with, but was booting like 60-some yarders for the ease. So I think that'll be interesting. I just like the fact that they're willing to try this, the league is. They expanded this year. It used to be that you could have 16 guys on your practice squad. If you signed an IPP player, you got a 17 player in your practice squad, which is still the case, but now every team can do it. It was like certain teams last year. So I like that they're expanding the game. I think it's great for the growth of the game. If we start getting players interested in it from other areas of the world, obviously this brings more people. And so that was the rule change with the kickoffs, IPP. Now let's talk about hip drop tackles. That was a rule change that came out earlier this week. I posted an article on Dynasty Bros Football about how devil's advocate, not saying I agree with this, but flag football might actually be a bad thing. We all love the big flashy plays. We love kickoff returns. We love those 70-yard runs. Flag football, we probably see more of that. So it actually gives us what we want more of. What we hate is injuries, and we hate low-scoring games for the most part. I don't mind a defensive game, but the general public does not love a defensive game. They don't like the 7-10 games. They want high-scoring games, and flag football would be more high-scoring. So just maybe we might like flag football a lot more than we think. I get it, the game has changed. The game has changed and will continue to change. Player safety is paramount. We have to. The hip drop tackle is not going to be called nearly as much as people think. People kept showing that Mark Andrews tackle. I'm not sure that would have got a flag based on the rules. You have to wrap your arms. You actually have to twist or swivel with your hips and then unweight yourself at the same time and make contact with the back of their legs. So if I just lunge at a guy and grab him and drag him down, not a hip drop tackle. What I have to do is lunge at him, wrap both or one arm around him, pivot with him. So if I'm going to swivel with him to try to take him down, all while unweighting myself, so going basically limp, dead body weight on him and hitting his legs. So, and I don't have hard numbers, but if you look at the clips that have been shown, if you look at most people's clips, there's 10 clips that get passed around as hip drop tackles. Even the league put out like clips. They showed some. People showed recordings of that. There was 5 or 6. So I get it. We're overloading the refs, which is part of the issue. We're overloading refs with these subjective calls of is it or is it not. We're going to get some wrong. I think we'll see a higher number this year than we will last year. Let me show this. What's up, man? Happy Easter to you, too. Thanks for popping in again. Appreciate your support. Happy Easter, everybody. Sorry, trying to click on the laptop. Happy Easter, man. If you guys got questions, drop them in the chat. I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys just stopping by on a Sunday afternoon. If you're ready for Easter dinner, I know my wife is making dinner right now. We're having turkey breast. I've got some time. Appreciate you guys stopping in. Hit me a thumbs up, a like on the video. Drop a question if you got one. Happy to answer questions. Again, this is me just wanting to walk in the treadmill, lose a little weight, but also want to talk football. So engage with you guys as a community. Talk whatever you guys want to talk about. So I'm not overly worried about hip drop tackles ruining the game that we love. The game has changed, and it's going to continue to change. And I think we just need to be okay with that. I likened it in my article to boxing versus MMA. Boxing had been a sport people loved it. MMA came out, and it was more violent. It was crazy. A lot of people remember that UFC 1, 2, 3 were brutal. I mean, just a free-for-all. If you watch those early UFCs, no weight classes, guys going out there, some with shoes, some with not. Well, who knew? Like, one guy had one glove on one hand. Like, it's just craziness. Elbows to the head. There's all kinds of stuff that's now been banned out of the game. So MMA, if you look at UFC, free-for-all in the beginning, and slowly made rules to protect the people. You can't do the up and down elbows on their head. You can't do certain things that you used to be able to do for safety. Didn't ruin MMA. Just made it more safe. Same as the NFL. Horse collar tackle, which is the same reasoning behind why they got rid of that. They got rid of hip drop tackles. We didn't get that and go, oh my gosh, this is going to ruin how are we supposed to tackle people. Well, no, you can't grab them inside the nameplate. And they expanded that. It used to be inside the collar. Now they went shoulder pads, nameplate. You can't grab and wrench down. You can still grab up and reach around them. You just can't yank them back from that. So I think there's going to be plenty of ways to tackle. This will get filtered down into the lower levels, college, high school, youth programs. Technique's just going to matter. And if you look at where the league's headed, technique has mattered for a while. They banned these hits where guys are launching themselves into. You have defenders say, well, you give me helmet and pad, you give me a weapon, I'm going to use it. And they just launch. I'm not trying to arm. Like, no one's trying to tackle anymore. It's a lot of this. Oh, I'm going to launch my shoulder and my head into you. No, use your arms and try to tackle them. Yes, you can still hit people. Listen, I'm against a lot of these quarterback rules where you can't even, breathe on a quarterback half the time. I like the hitting in football, but we need to play players safe. I want my players on both sides of the ball to play longer. So, not worried about hip drop tackles. Won't be an issue. We'll get a couple calls this year that are going to be questionable. Be a learning curve for sure as the refs figure it out. I do think we need to go to full-time refs in the NFL. Just makes sense to me. Like, we need to teach them and train them. They should be in training and teaching, watching film, going to school right now, learning these things instead of 4 weeks from now, they're like, oh, hey, by the way, here's a new rule. Figure it out. I think we need to do a little better coaching for our refs, make them full-time. But I think overall, I think the game is still going to be the game we love. But if the NFL wants to go to flag football, we're still going to watch it, still going to love it. And, hey, you take helmets off, guys, everyone's more recognizable, more marketable. Right now you have 40 guys that are marketable. You have your quarterbacks, maybe a running back, wide receiver, a couple of defensive guys. You take helmets off, every guy's recognizable. You tell me you know what Stephon Diggs looks like? Maybe. You're telling me you know what Zay Flowers looks like? Jordan Addison? Probably not. And I think removing the helmets would make them more marketable. So I think there's valid points on the other side of if we got rid of tackle altogether, went to flag football. Wouldn't be as bad. Not what I want, but devil's advocate, there's some valid points to it. So those are the two big rule changes, hip drop tackle and the new kickoff. Excited for the new kickoff. I still think it needs to be tweaked. They need to go out to the 30 instead of the 35 on touchback. I still think people are just going to, or they need to move to the 35, not the 30. I think people are just going to boot out of the end zone. I'm going to miss the surprise onsides because now you have to declare you're doing an onside kick. I kind of, we didn't see a ton of surprise onsides, but I'm going to miss the fact that we could have those. I still think they need to go to the 4th and 20 play to keep the ball. Let them do a 4th and 20. They get it. They get the ball. If not, other team gets it. I think that would make things a little more interesting. Allow the skill sets and people and offensive coordinators and special coordinators to call up those plays of this is what we're going to do rather than a declared onside because it just seems to make onside even more harder. So if you're down, you really have no way of coming back, which kind of stinks. So thanks for tuning in. I got another 25 minutes. If you got questions, comments, drop them in the comments there. Love to answer your questions as I walk on the treadmill this Easter. So happy Easter, everybody. Sunday. Let's talk about, we just talked on pro days for a lot of these scouts, or a lot of these college players. Scouts have been out on the road. Pro days are an interesting thing. I went to the Wisconsin pro day a couple weeks ago. Talked about this a couple weeks ago on Treadmill Talk. Players choosing not to run 40s, running 40s. The way they do 40s is weird. It's just they run it and all the scouts just compare. Obviously, we saw Michael Penix come out and run a really good 40, I think a 4.5, which is really good. I think the question for me for Penix was always been not his injury, but the health and athleticism post-injuries. He's had a ton of injuries. Was he still able to maintain that health? Now, Penix doesn't have a huge rushing upside, didn't have a ton of rushing in college. My fear was that the injuries decreased his mobility and decreased his speed. Seems like he still has it, so that kind of concern is lessened for me. Still some durability concerns maybe, but his athleticism post-injuries concern isn't there for me. So I'm okay with that. That was the highlight of Michael Penix. I think we saw, Joe Milton. We all knew he had a big arm, and it was funny that this team practiced indoors and like, all right, now Joe Milton's going to throw. Let's go outdoors so he doesn't hit the roof because he's just got this cannon. Listen, I think Joe Milton coming in for a play or two on Hail Marys is just going to be fun. Like, just to see him launch it, like, he can throw it 80 yards easily, 90 yards. I mean, he's just got a rocket of an arm. So I'm excited for that. Pro days were fun. Hey, while I'm here, I'm wearing this shirt today. This is a shirt from my buddy's apparel line. FTR Finished the Race Apparel. So my buddy was a doctor, and he had a concussion in medical school that took him out for a year. Couldn't see, couldn't read, whole bunch of stuff. Thought his journey was over. Came out of that. His brother said to him, finish your race no matter what. So we did this, and I made this clothing line. This is one of his shirts. It's the Unbreakable shirt. He's got a whole line, ftrapparel.com. And basically all the proceeds go to charity. He's got 2 or 3 charities that they link up with every couple months. And basically all your proceeds, you can select what charity you want to go to. Doing great work, small company. He's a doctor. His wife's a doctor. They're just trying to do stuff, give back to the community. So want to support FTR. Unbreakable shirt, super soft shirt. Love it. So if you're looking for a nice workout clothes, ftrapparel.com. Check them out. So shout out to Joel and FTR Apparel for giving me a shirt or two. Really love what they're doing. Love the mission behind it. I love that kind of stuff. When we see people connect with their passions, so whether that's t-shirts, whether that's fantasy, whether that's pickleball like the footballers do, but also have some social consciousness to it. So if you guys play pickleball or don't know pickleball, the fantasy footballers, Andy, Mike, and Jason, have Ballers, which is a pickleball company that make paddles and stuff. Half the proceeds go to charities, which I think is great. I love seeing that charity work. If you're into charity, Fantasy Cares, Scott Fish, the Fishbowl, they're doing stuff. They got t-shirts out for Fishbowl 15. They're all movie themed, so you can donate there, get the shirts, the pre-order of the shirts. I'm a big supporter of those kind of charities. Anytime people want to give back to the community, I'm all for it. So if you guys got a charity or something or something you're part of that you do that you give back to the community, drop it in the comments. Love to shout you guys out. I think it's a big part of the fantasy community that often gets lost. Listen, the fantasy community, especially on Twitter, can at times be really toxic. I think we've all been part of it at times, of arguing about stupid things. Peeps. Oh, my son's playing piano. Whether peeps are the 101 or is this player good or whatever. There's a lot of good that comes out of the fantasy community. These charity things. Making friends. I've made some really good friends through fantasy. I'm friends with, actual friends with, not just, fantasy playing with and league mates with. I'm actually friends with. Besides, if we never played fantasy again, we'd still be friends. It's a big part of it, and that's what I think fantasy is all about. It's all about connecting with people. It's all about connecting with others in the community and sharing that passion, making some friends. Let's face it, as the older you get, the harder it is to make friends. Man or woman, it's hard to make friends. I think fantasy gives us an opportunity. So, as corny as it is about the people we meet along the way. But, I think that's what's great about fantasy. It's one of the things I love about fantasy is that you can be in a group for people that you were in high school with, and now it's been 20 years. It can be a work group and people leave the job, but you're still friends. It can be with people you meet from all over the country, and now you're friends, and you do meetups at different events. Whatever it is, it gives you and your family a chance to connect. I love that aspect of fantasy football, which I think is really cool. It's one thing I love about fantasy, and I'm all about making connections, helping people connect to other people, helping connect to their dreams, their visions. There's people out there that want to do this full time, like myself. There's people who just want to make it a hobby. There's people who just want to reach more people. Helping people do that is always fun. Whew. Getting a nice workout today. I know I'm not running or anything, but nice little workout. We had breakfast at church this morning, so they provided breakfast before service, which was nice. So had some pancakes and bacon this morning, so it was good. nice bacon turkey and biscuits and mashed potatoes and such for dinner. We're going down to a friend's house down the street for some games and hors d'oeuvres. Be a good time. So I hope you guys are having a great Easter. Hope you guys are enjoying the day. April 1st tomorrow, so no April Fools hopefully for all you guys. But hopefully tomorrow we don't get any April Fools for fantasy. Hopefully we don't get any craziness. Hopefully you get some good trade offers. So let's talk about trades. What are you guys sending out in trades? Let me know in the comments. Drop a comment, drop a like, subscribe, follow. Who are you trying to trade for? Who are you trying to trade away? I had this talk to someone. I'm trying to trade away Dalton Kincaid if I have him. Listen, I know Dalton Kincaid's a super athlete, super skilled guy, but I just don't see the fit on the Bills team. I looked up some numbers last year. Now we have a new offensive coordinator, Joe Barry took over. Joe Brady took over last year, week 14. Week 14 to the end of the season with Knox and Kincaid. I don't see the big numbers for Kincaid. He had a couple games where he had 8 targets, 7 targets. Knox only had 1 or 2 or 0. But there's a couple games where Kincaid had 0, Knox had 0, Kincaid had 2, Knox had 2. I've always said with Dawson Knox there, and he just restructured his contract that hinders the workload for Dalton Kincaid. I just don't know if I can buy him as a top 10 tight end. I think in Dynasty people are. I don't think Knox is going anywhere for 2 more years. I think we'll just see Kincaid be a best ball play at best. So if you can trade him away for a second-round pick, especially a mid to early second-round pick, I'm all for trading him away. I just don't see the value there. If I'm looking at him as a top 10 tight end, give me a Cole Kmet. Give me who else is there? I mean, we got Kelsey, Laporta. Give me a George Kittle for 2 years. I mean, you got those guys. You're not going to get a Kelsey, Laporta, Trey McBride, Hawkinson, Andrews. But if you can get one of those other guys for him, I'm all for trading away Dalton Kincaid. So let me know what you guys think about Dalton Kincaid. Drop it in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter, Unit13. Love to hear from you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Halfway through our Treadmill Talk on Easter Sunday here. Just walking on the treadmill talking football. Hope you guys are enjoying the content. If you do, throw me a thumbs up. Drop a comment. There's nothing fancy as me walking on a treadmill. Who else am I trying to trade for? I mentioned Gus Edwards earlier. Trading for him. It's tough right now to really make trades for guys or away for guys because I just don't know what the situation is going to be. Ideally, I'd love to get George Pickens cheap. But I think he's going to be cheaper post-draft because I think the Steelers do go out and get a wide receiver. So maybe you sell high right now. I'm not sure what his value is, but if you can get an early second for George Pickens, late first, I think his value drops. So I'm going to sell him high now, but maybe wait till post-draft. The Steelers go out and get T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, or the Steelers draft Brian Thomas or Adonai Mitchell. Does that hurt George Pickens? I think it does. I think it decreases his value. Now, granted, that new receiver probably shifts into the Deontay Johnson workload, so maybe his volume doesn't go down, but I think the perception of George Pickens drops. So sell high on George Pickens right now if I can. Wait till post-draft, buy him cheap if I'm buying him. So that's where I'm at with that. Let's talk about the Jets. They've made a lot of trades and a lot of moves. They just got the guy from the Eagles on defense. What am I doing with Mike Williams and Garrett Wilson? I've always been out on Mike Williams. I think the injury history, I think Rodgers is good. Rodgers may have lost a step with the Achilles. He's also like almost 40. I mean, I'm not betting against Aaron Rodgers, but I'm also not banking on Aaron Rodgers, so I'm not really into Mike Williams. Garrett Wilson's still a top-end wide receiver, but he's definitely not in that top tier. For me, that top tier is Jefferson, Chase, and Lamb. I think I actually have Lamb 1 based on what we know. Maybe Chase 1 if T. Higgins stays. So, I mean, Garrett Wilson's in that next tier, tier 2, but I don't know if I could buy him right now. I'm buying Breece Hall, though. I think they're going to try to run the ball a ton. Now, Aaron Rodgers is going to try to check out of those plays, but given the volume that we saw from Breece Hall and the skill that we saw from Breece Hall coming off that injury where he probably wasn't 100%, if I can buy Breece Hall right now for a mid to first round pick, I'll take Breece Hall over any running back in the draft right now. And I'd probably take him over Rome Odunze. I don't know. I mean, depends on where Rome Odunze goes, but that's where I'm at with him. I think he's up there. I think he's probably the number 1 running back in Dynasty, so maybe you have to give 2 first for him. I don't think it's a bad deal. I don't know if there's any great running backs coming out next year. So you got McCaffrey kind of aging out. You got Breece Hall. Javante's kind of been hit or miss. So I think Breece Hall, Bijan's there. Bijan's been good, but I think I take Breece Hall all day. So Breece Hall's my number one running back in Dynasty. So trading what you can to get him. He's a buy for me. He's not cheap, but I'm getting him. Jamison Williams for the Lions. They let Josh Reynolds go. So he signed elsewhere. So if you can get Jamison Williams cheap, I think he has potential to be good. You know, another thing that came out is they're expecting a leap from Quentin Johnson on the Chargers this year. You can't get much worse for what Quentin Johnson was last year, right? I mean, he was just awful. Now they got rid of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, Gerald Everett, and Austin Eckler. He's going to need to take a huge leap. Now, I think the Chargers take a receiver at 5. Could be Marvin Harrison. Could be Malik Neighbors. I think it's probably more Marvin Harrison than Malik Neighbors if they had to choose between the two. Just for fit on the team, I think Malik Neighbors and Quentin Johnson have very similar skill sets. Now, Malik Neighbors is actually probably really good. Quentin Johnson maybe not so much. But I think when you're talking about just divesting your skill set, you want a guy who does one thing and another guy does another thing. Whether that other guy does it well or not, this is a whole other subject. I think if they're given the option, they'll take Harrison. Don't think it helps Quentin Johnson at all, other than it takes a little pressure off him because he doesn't have to be the only guy there. Let's face it, if the Chargers roll into the season with Quentin Johnson, Josh Palmer, Will Disley, I'm down on Herbert bad. I just don't know how you expect Justin Herbert to have the career he's having. You lose his top 4 receivers and give him Quentin Johnson and don't add anything back. So we'll see. What do you guys think about Justin Herbert and that Chargers offense? Like I said, I love the running situation. Gus Edwards and whoever they bring in. I'm curious to see what they do at receiver. Now, if they can go out and get Marvin Harrison at 4, a running back in the 2nd, maybe a wide receiver in the 3rd or 4th, had an offensive lineman, might be all back in on Justin Herbert. I mean, you keep Quentin Johnson as your 3rd wide receiver and you can draft Marvin Harrison in the 2nd one, I'm okay with that. I think it'd be great. So lots going to remain to be seen come draft what the Chargers do. They have a lot of question marks. I was doing some graphics on like who completes the team. For me, Chargers have a lot of holes to fill. Running back 1, wide receiver really 1 and 2. I think tight end's a question mark. I like Will Disley, but I don't think he's a high-end tight end. So see what the Chargers do. Maybe they trade back. We'll see. I mean, Minnesota wants to trade up, it seems. So if the right guy falls to 4, Harrison's off the table. Do the Chargers trade back with Minnesota and they can get their guy? We could see it go Caleb, Jaden, Drake May, Marvin Harrison. And at 5, JJ's there. Minnesota says, hey, we'll give you 11 and 23. Chargers say, okay, we'll move back. Still get a Brian Thomas or Roma Dunze at 11. And I think another guy at 23. Wouldn't be a bad move for him. So I think whoever moves back with Minnesota is going to have be able to fill a lot of holes. My latest mock draft, what I dropped it this week, DynastyProsFootball.com. I'm Minnesota trading up with Arizona. I think Arizona's got a ton of holes to fill. When I look at the teams that benefit from trading back, Arizona obviously has a lot of needs. Chargers have a lot of needs in Los Angeles. And the Giants, who I think are at 6 or 7, have a lot of needs too, so they could trade back. In my mock draft, I have Arizona and the Giants both trading back and then trading back up a few picks later. So I have Arizona trading out of 4, trading back up to get Roma Dunze. Same thing with the Giants. They drop back, then trade back up and actually draft a tight end, Brock Bowers. I think Darren Waller thinks about retiring. So some fun stuff in that mock draft. Check it out, DynastyProsFootball.com. You guys got any questions? Hit that like, subscribe, drop your comments in there. Love to answer your questions. Interact with you guys makes a lot more fun when I can interact with you guys on these. Got about 11 more minutes on my treadmill here. I'm walking for about 34. Trying to do 45 minutes. It's a good little workout for me. Drop some calories as I get prepared to eat Thanksgiving meal. Or not Thanksgiving, Easter meal, turkey and mashed potatoes and rolls. But yeah, I want to talk football with you guys. So who else am I trading away in Dynasty? Honestly, I'm trying to trade Patrick Mahomes in the league. I just can't do it. I'd like to trade him. I just can't get the value for him. Because I think Patrick Mahomes is amazing. And if you can get 3 first rounds, 2 first rounds, the top value that you can get for a quarterback in your league, I think it's okay to do so. Is he great? Yes. But is he a world apart from all these other guys? In fantasy, no. Josh Allen, who is rushing upside Lamar, Herbert on a healthy team, and Jalen Hurts, Maybe Caleb comes in and pushes that. You can drop back. I see no difference between Mahomes in fantasy and having Tua plus a running back or Tua plus a wide receiver. You can get that for Mahomes plus a pick. You can round out your team. So I sold Tyreek Hill last year for 2 first-round picks. I had Mahomes and Hill. That was great to get younger a little bit. Not that Mahomes is old by any stretch of imagination, but if I can get a CJ Stroud, if you trade for Mahomes for Stroud and Khalil Shakir plus a second-round pick or a first-round pick, I'm okay with that. If you're inside on premium, you get one of those guys like Freiermuth, something along those lines. I'm okay with that too. That's a good thing. So, yeah, I think it's interesting to see who you're buying and selling right now in Dynasty. Honestly, that's where we're at. We just got a lot going on. I was talking to someone today, and they were like, "What's going on? Are you keeping up?" And I was like, "Yeah, it never stops." For Dynasty, this is the start of our season. There really is no off season. I think for Dynasty, really our off season is December, January. Like after the fantasy playoffs, during real football playoffs and Super Bowl, that's kind of the dead zone for us. And off season, then we get into post Super Bowl. That's when our season starts. We start making trades, looking at our picks, looking at our rookies. Then we get into the combine. A week's going to have the draft in a month, pro days, all that stuff in between. That's when Dynasty really kicks up, which is the time of year I like. And then it kind of dies out again post draft. So we have our draft end of April. First couple weeks of May, you do your rookie drafts. Then June, July, it's kind of dead. So I enjoy that time of year, which is kind of nothing going on before training camp. You have rookie mini camp. We get a little bit of news. Players are done signed. Maybe get an injury. Hopefully not. But that's really, December, January, June, July are 2 kind of slow periods for Dynasty football. So, but I'm enjoying the time right now. Enjoying ready for draft, doing mock drafts, talking rookies with you guys. If you got a question about a prospect, drop it in there. Drop it in the comments. Love to talk to you guys. You got a trade question, throw it in there. Love just hearing football. Talking football with you guys. That's why I'm doing these. I can ramble on about football for 45 minutes, but it's a lot more enjoyable if you guys drop a comment or a question in there. Give me something to talk about. Helps me out. Like I said, just me walking on a treadmill talking football. That's what these are, Treadmill Talks, every Sunday, right around this time, 1 p.m. Central, 12:30 Central, somewhere around there. I'm going for 30-some minutes. Set the timer for 45 this week. Figure talk it up. So get ready for Easter Sunday. So thanks for joining in. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. Drop me a follow on Twitter. Drop Dynasty Bros Football follow on Twitter. If you're catching this, hit those like and subscribe. Appreciate it. Whew. Like I said, touched on Rashee Rice earlier at the start. Not going to speculate too much so we have more information. Maybe he was there. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was involved. Maybe he wasn't. Don't know. Don't really care until I know. I can speculate. We can speculate on, but I think that doesn't do anybody any good. Let's just wait until we find all the information. Was he there? And if he was, why is he talking to the tops? If he wasn't there, who knows? He could be sleeping. Could have went to his parents, turned off his phone. Who knows? Again, let's just not speculate until we have all the information, because we don't want to cast guilt on someone or cast doubt on someone's situation without information. There's a lot of this morning of like, he's hiding from the cops. He's on the land. Like maybe he just didn't answer his phone. Maybe he wasn't home. Maybe he went to his girlfriend's house. I don't know. Let's just slow our roll a little bit. So, still a good player. Still plenty of upside for him in fantasy, unless he gets cut. Unless there's some legal situation. But until we know, proceed as normal. So, yeah. So let's talk about something I've seen on Twitter. Who's a Twitter follow that you think, who's a person on Twitter or an analyst that you think deserves more likes and follows? So if you have one, drop it in the comments. Tag me on Twitter, mention them. I think giving back to other people is huge. So I'll throw a few people that I really like to follow. Obviously, Dynasty Bros Football. I'm their content creator. We got some really good writers over there. Guys over at Dynasty G-Gens, I work with that team. So Dirtboard Mike is great. Nino Brown is awesome on Twitter. Love talking to him. Goody, Jay Goodwin on Twitter. I forget his actual name. It's like Jay Goodwin 77, I think. Really good IDP mind. Front Office Pros, obviously you guys know I do work with them. Steve and Joe. Love following them, so drop them a follow. I'll tell you who I really like is Jagger May. I've talked to Jagger a bunch, done some podcasts with him. I love how genuine Jagger is. He's just kind of himself always. Not afraid to mix it up, not afraid to have bold takes, but also just a nice guy in general. Always willing to talk, share, puts out some awesome content. The videos that Jagger does are funny in just a quick whip comical sense. Like he's not doing these great news, just him talking to a screen, doing recaps of free agency, whatever. But he's put little quips. It's real unique sense of humor for me. So drop Jagger May a follow. If you don't know football, Jagger, if you're watching this, which I'm sure you are, Jagger, love your work, man. And then I'll tell you one more. Nick Script, P2W over at Fantrax. And I don't know how Nick does it. Dude is putting out content left and right. Not just football. He's now taking over basketball. The dude just had a kid. Well, him and his wife just had a kid. Maybe a month ago. The dude's just cranking out content left and right. Every time I go on Twitter, there's a new video, a new post, a new spreadsheet, a new something from Nick Script. So P2W on Twitter. Drop him a follow. Him and Jagger are the two people that I find do not only the most amount of work, but really good work. And the combination of both, their grind and their hustle is just huge right now. Really look up to both those. So Nick and Jagger, you're my guys. I think everybody should go follow them. So if you're watching this, go follow Nick and Jagger. Nick Script, Jagger May, two great guys who I think deserve more credit. I think exceed the norms of what we see from people in terms of quality, in terms of quantity, but also as who they are as a person. Just nice people who don't get bogged down by towing the company line or, trying to be something they're not. They just are who they are, unapologetically, and put up good content. And they're just nice guys to interact with. So look forward to that. Like I said, I've done a couple podcasts with Jagger and Chuck Bass, which is always a fun one. I don't think I've ever done anything with Nick. I got to talk to Nick. We got to get on a show together or something. But met Nick in person at the Scott Fishbowl live draft last year. Super nice guy just to sit and talk with. Took time out of his day. I'll say that. You know what? When we talk about nice guys, there's certain people in this industry that I find are just super nice. And not because they're super caring, because they take time out. So Jim Coventry, it's one of those guys, that's a big name for me. Works with RotoWire, just a big name. Met him at the Chicago live draft for Scott Fishbowl last year, talking to him, Andy Behrens, Wendy Early. He's a celebrity in our sphere, in that fantasy football sphere. I think he took time to come over, and as we were leaving, was hey, let's talk. Could have just said, hey man, nice seeing you, nice meeting you. But it was hey, he was intentional about sitting down with me and go, hey, let's just spend 5 minutes and talk connected. We've stayed connected. He's had me on the show once or twice. That's what it's about. So something I try to emulate is just taking time out to talk to people. So if you guys ever want to hit me up, my DMs are open. Hit me up on Twitter. Love talking football. I don't need you to post it and tag me in a post. I don't need it to be visible. If you just want to talk football, shoot me a DM. I have a couple people that just shoot me DMs a lot. And they're hey, what do you think about this trade? Or what should I do here? What do you guys think about this? I'll answer it. I'm not going to charge you for it. I'm not going to sit there and, tag me in the tweet, because I want people to see my takes. No, I just want to help you win. My goal in making content, help you be better at football and help you enjoy fantasy more. That's all I care about. I don't care if people see me do that. I just want to help you individually be better at your league and have fun, whatever that is. If it's trading's fun, if winning's fun, if getting your guys is fun, if trash talk is fun, whatever it is that's fun to you, I want to help you do that better. So that's what I'm here for. So thanks for tuning in this week, guys. Got about a minute left. Let's wrap this up. Like I said, FTR Apparel, this is their Unbreakable shirt, FTRapparel.com. Check them out. Some great workout stuff, apparel for men and women. Check us out on DynastyBrosFootball.com. Hit me up on Twitter. Thanks for tuning in. Drop a like, a subscribe specifically, whether that's on YouTube. It will really help. We're trying to grow the channel, trying to do some more content for you guys. Hit me up on Twitter. Drop me a follow. Drop us a follow, Dynasty Bros Football. You can check us out on TikTok, Instagram. We're trying to expand over there. Just love talking football with you guys. It's been a great week. Happy Easter, everyone. See you guys next week.